marketers, the latest tool providers, and just the latest people in this space. And we just talk about the perspective on marketing and kind of just get everything on. Today we have Elizabeth Greene. She's amazing. If you don't follow her on LinkedIn, you have to follow her on LinkedIn. And she's awesome. And just, yeah, we're going to have a conversation about Amazon and the latest stuff to do on advertising and everything else there, and we'll kind of take a deep dive. So she'll give us an intro about who she is, where she goes, and then we'll talk about Amazon. Thanks for hopping on.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's still weird to me to get recognized and be like, "Oh, I follow your content." So
Yeah.
I'm not at that level yet. I don't think I'll ever be at the level of not thinking that's awesome. So I appreciate you having me on. Yeah. So hi, my name is Elizabeth Greene. I'm one of the co-founders of an Amazon advertising agency called Jungler. So put out a whole lot of content about Amazon advertising.
Yeah, and I really saw that at Prosper Show, and I just came back from Prosper Show yesterday, and were you there?
I was not.
Oh, okay.
I was not. I kept thinking maybe like last year. I'm like maybe, and it hasn't worked out.
Got it, got
Not
it.
yet.
And I really thought it was like crazy that like I would just be walking and like sit at a table and they go, "You're Victor, right?" And I'd be like, yeah, I am Victor." And like there's like, "Oh yeah, you're that guy on LinkedIn that posts like crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And
Nice.
it's crazy to see like the what impact and that happened like so many times. It was crazy. So like it's really crazy to see the impact of content. I'm glad it actually works and people see it. It's kind of crazy
Yeah.
sometimes to get that
Yeah, I agree.
perspective. But yeah, starting out with Amazon advertising and things like that, we're really starting to see the cost of Amazon ads rise, as you know, with CPCs and everything else. How have you been really navigating the waters to kind of fix that, or like at least keep costs down?
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yep.
It comes with a whole lot of client communication for
Yeah.
sure. Because what we found is that different clients will have different objectives and also different risk tolerances.
True.
So there might be a time where the client's like, "Nope, we absolutely need to push this. I am okay with like the A cost is what it is, and we need to rank on this keyword." Like, cool, we'll build it, we'll monitor it, keep on touch on that. And there's some clients that are like, "I have very low profit margins, my product's already cool, I'm fine with decreased sales as long as my profits, money in the bank's better." All right, cool, we'll build for that. So that's definitely, I think it's really important now more than ever to figure out what it is that you're actually trying to do and what you're okay with.
Yeah.
If you're not okay with being super aggressive, that's fine. Just realize that the trade-off might be a little bit lower sales, but you might have a little more money in the bank. So you kind of try and find that sweet spot between your product's not continuously decreasing and now on page 20, but you're not paying top dollar, running it like say consistently over 100% A cost. You kind of try and find the sweet spot, and then the market moves and you have work to find it again.
Yeah, how do you have that conversation with clients? Like saying like, "Hey, we need to be increasing," like, or like saying, "Hey, our ads are killing it. We need to be spending more." Like how do you have that conversation of the balance between like profitability in the like and finding that compromise between that profitability and sales? Because that's a lot of people want
Yeah.
that balance. How do you have that conversation?
Yeah. So it is difficult because that's a lot. It gets into forecasting, and forecasting, I'll be perfectly frank, kind of terrifies me. Not because I can't build the projection models. I can absolutely build the projection models. It's just, if I can project, okay, so we convert this much in top of search, and we pay this cost per click, I can build that, and I can tell you like, hey, to maintain this, we're going to have this. And then all of a sudden your competitors go in and the cost per clicks rise and my models don't work anymore. So I actually had a whole discussion with Michael from Ad Badger. We built out some projection models, and it was like best case, worst case, middle case. And I said in that post, it's not because I'm not confident that I know how to make the numbers do what they need to do. I think spreadsheets are fun. Building out models is fun. But saying like, this is how it's going to be. That's the part that I'm like, I can't promise it. If I can't promise it, I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely kind of, it's being able to tell a story through numbers. So like if the conversion rates are decreasing, kind of knowing where to dig. So I think it's a lot of understanding the market, understanding kind of, again, just like what is that top of search cost per click? You can run kind of like a test and figure that out. We had one client, they're like, okay, we want to get our video ad to show up here. We ran the test. We're like, it's $9 a click. You still want to do that? Nope, we didn't want to do that. So we pulled back. But, so being able to kind of get that data. And then, like I said, bringing it back to the client, like, are you cool with this? This is what it's going to take to run that. And I think being confident in kind of displaying the data definitely helps. That's super important. So if you come to them like, well, I think it's going to be this and that, be like, nope. Okay. So here's the numbers. Here's our cost per clicks to do this, projection model. It looks like this. Is this a scenario we're okay with? And then we can make micro adjustments around it. But I think it has a lot to do with, having the conversation and making sure you kind of have data to back up what it is that you're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And with that, there are so many variables like in that question when it comes to projections, which is why like even I'm hesitant to give because all of a sudden like CPCs can rise. We saw that in Q4. And then they're like, you never know if like a particular keyword increases their performance or decreases in performance, because what works now will not work a week later, and that's the problem. So when it comes to constantly changing and everything else, it's very hard because there's so many variables in that question. But the fact that you try to build out a model on it, that's impressive, because usually I kind of just go off the intuition on running the account, saying like, hey, we usually spend $50,000, we usually get $200,000 in sales. If we spend $75,000, we'll get it at whatever it may be, and kind of use my intuition going off of that. But that's amazing that you were attempting to get as many of the variables as possible. That's impressive. I will say that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And what would you say when it comes to advertising right now has been working the best right now? Is it DSP? Is it sponsored brand video? Is it sponsored display? What do you think is really like working well right now? What do you think on that? And it's a tough question.
That's
And
a
it's
tough
different by
one.
each client and things
That's
like
a
that.
tough
But is
one.
anything standing out?
So so I would say, I mean, as far as like ranking, if you want to call it juice, if you want to call it whatever, sponsored products is still the OG. I still think it should make up the bulk of a lot of your account. I still think that if you are trying to maintain rankings, you need to maintain a really good presence on that. Now, so I've done a lot of account audits at this point, and so just so happened within the span of like 3 months, I happened to audit a couple of accounts, like 3 accounts that had a very poor performance on sponsored products, had a very heavy reliance on sponsored brands, and our sponsored brands video specifically. I'm talking like 80% of the account was sponsored brands video because it got the best return. All 3 of them had an issue with ranking. Now, I'm uncertain I don't know if it's like, I'm hesitant to say like there's no ranking juice in a sponsored brand video campaign. That being said, I think it has more to do with the nature, and like there's one singular spot, and like if you lose that spot, it's not like you go down to like lower on page 1, you like completely are gone. I have a feeling it has more to do with that scenario. But I've seen enough things like that made me go, I don't think I should ever really step away fully from sponsored product ads. So I think that's super, super important to maintain a presence. That being said, sponsored brands video typically converts better. Sponsored display still, for the most part, you do tend to get lower cost per clicks. So there's those kind of overarching things we see pretty much across accounts. So pretty much run all the above. If you could pick one, choose sponsored products.
Yeah, and it's really critical to run as many formats as possible, rather than saying like just setting up a sponsored product campaign and say, oh, sponsored products don't work, or whatever, Amazon ads in general don't work. like testing a format for every single area, because you never know what your
Yeah.
competitors aren't doing. It gives you more levers. So, for example, if your competitors
Mhm.
start pouring a bunch of money in sponsored product keyword targeting, sponsored product targeting is going to kill it for you. I
Yes.
usually see product targeting almost about 20% more effective on the product targeting for most clients. I don't know what you end up seeing on that side, but we usually see it perform a lot better, and that's why we pull as many levers as possible to get the most
Yes.
traction there for all the formats there. It's important.
Yeah. I know. I definitely agree on that for sure.
Yeah, and when it comes to sponsored brands, so as you probably see that, like when it comes to the future of advertising, Amazon's getting really a lot more creative in the way they do
Yes.
things, and with a lot more to the creative aspect of it. When it comes to the custom image on sponsored brands headlines, are you doing anything interesting? Like, is there anything that you recommend to clients that you're saying, hey, we need these assets, or we need to get these things in the creative aspect of things, like we need these videos or whatever it may be, because getting a video from a client is
Yeah.
like practically impossible. If you can do it, you're
Yeah.
awesome. But it is very, very difficult to get that information. So is there anything that you've been recommending lately on the creative aspect to get
Yeah,
more of
definitely.
that in?
So I always say, like, tell the clients, this is part of my audit, is like, like how much do you have built out of everything? And a lot of times you'll see like one sponsor brand's video ad, like just put up there like, oh, we're running sponsor brands video. I'm like, if you have the creative, that's the hardest part. So you might as well just build all the things. You have the creative. It's working. Like, we want to maximize it.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree. Like, getting the creatives is more difficult for video ads, mostly because it's definitely a big investment for a lot of sellers, and sometimes it only makes sense to make that investment on the bestseller, and I get it.
Mhm.
But if I have the creative, I'm definitely gonna run that.
Yeah.
The other thing with sponsored brands is we definitely have more creative advantages. They gave us the lifestyle images option, which is awesome. And then not only did they give us the option, they also gave us the option to go and edit. So it used to be like, great, we have access to this. We can't edit our legacy campaigns, and the legacy campaigns are working,
Yeah.
so we don't want to mess it up. Now you can go in and edit that and add that creative, which is like awesome. It used to be a lot of sellers, you could kind of get around the fact that you couldn't have a creative, so they would put a creative or lifestyle image in the logo slot. They
Mhm.
just had been sending out mass emails like, hey, if you don't have these updated by March 31st, your ads are getting shut off. So if you have those old school creative images, definitely want to go update those with the logo. The one benefit to a sponsored brand's lifestyle image is the fact that it doesn't take away from any of the other creative options that you have in your sponsored brand ad. You can still have the your headline tag, as well as the logo and the image. I definitely recommend running all of that. There actually is a lifestyle image option in the sponsor display ads, which is awesome. We've been testing it. The one issue with that is it takes away, you don't get the option of adding a logo or a headline.
Sure.
So you kind of have to pick your bets and figure out what you think works best.
What?
And some of the ways that it shows up is kind of funky. So
Yeah. Funky's a good word. That's a good word for that, actually. But yeah, is there a particular one that you see works best, the custom image or brand, or is it kind of just like it could be anything? It could go either way.
that really does go back to like how good your lifestyle image is. I mean, some lifestyle images are better than others. It depends on what you have built out. I definitely see that it works really well when you have it. It still doesn't show up 100% of the time. It shows
Yeah.
up more on mobile, of course, and then you still have the options where if you're like at the bottom, I'm trying to remember, bottom page, sometimes it shows up. So it's not always going to show.
Yeah.
But it definitely, you have the option to fully like showcase your brand in
Mhm.
a way that was previously unavailable.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend taking advantage again when you have the creatives for it.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the hard part. Actually getting it. Like, guys, if it's 2022, if you do not have a video yet for your product or your product listing or something, you are like very behind. Please, please at least have one video. Like you can get images, like normal images, have motion on
Slideshow.
them
Yep.
and put text on it. Like it's not that hard. It'll take you like 10 minutes to do. And it's 2022. You need video assets. You don't like, and not just, you can have still images, make a video about it, and that can be your video asset. You don't even need to record it. So please, I beg you, please get some video assets to choose from. You'll see it, you'll really reap the benefits off of it as Amazon starts to really go and push that creative portion of it. This creative
Yeah.
advertising is where they're really starting to push that a lot heavier. And back to where you're saying, yes, sponsored products is the OG in this space, that you have to be on sponsored products, but really going that next level for the creative side, that's really important too, to really push there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and definitely the option of sponsored brands. One thing that's definitely unique is the fact that you can link to store pages. So instead of having someone go on your listing and then there's all the other products surrounding it, you can showcase your full brand, build out your like custom pages. I mean, there's so much you can do with it. And so I have heard store pages linked to a video ad are coming. So that's going to
Really?
be a really cool option down the road.
Yeah, I heard that too. And from my experience from sponsored brands, you have the choice to send them to the store or send them
Yeah.
directly to the product. I usually see a very, very poor conversion rate using a store page. Now, I didn't optimize it very much. I usually end up A/B testing it just to see if anything's changed. But usually, sending them directly to the product page ends up being better. Are you seeing something different, something similar? What do you see there?
Yeah, so I think it depends on what traffic you're driving. I
True.
definitely agree. Like, if somebody is looking for something very, very specific, which is, I mean, you can tell by keyword kind of like how much they really care about finding the thing. If they're trying to find the thing and you give them a store page with like your entire catalog, they're gonna be like, I was looking for my purple toothbrush. What the heck is deodorant? And they're probably gonna like not really enjoy that journey. So
Yeah.
I think there's kind of like the best way to do things, and the way that makes the most sense is to get insanely granular. And then there's the way that like you have time to build. So I'm always trying to like, how can I build the best in a way that's not a complete headache to try and build out, because as you start really digging into it, you can get insanely, specific with who you're targeting, the traffic flow, which is honestly the best way to do it. You just got to put the time and effort in.
Oh yeah. Amazon is not, especially Amazon ads, is not set it and forget it. It's just that's where you start seeing your costs start to rise, because like you have to look on the product level, the keyword level, the campaign level. There's just so many aspects of it which make it so complicated, which is the reason why we both have jobs. If it was easy, we would not have jobs. So that's what it's pros and cons there. But it is a very, very complicated to make sure everything gets set up and gets done properly, and then you optimize accordingly is the best way to approach it from that aspect.
Yes, for sure.
Is there any tools on Amazon ads that you're recommending right now? So I've tested a lot of tools, and it's actually annoying because we use a different tool for every client account because I'm all about testing new tools. So, which is
We'll
a
definitely have to
management.
talk after this. I want to hear what you've tested.
Yeah, no, I'll just let you know. I've tested Downstream. I've tested IntentWise, tested Trellis, tested like all the like basic like Helium 10, like the Amazon PPC tool. And then I haven't tested Quartile and all those other ones because, in my opinion, I think at its core level that it's mainly a bid optimization. I think that is the minimum of what people need now is that bid optimization tool that are going to calculate where that goes up and down. And most 99% of tools do that for a very cheap cost, like less than $100 a month. And then I think that is the bulk of the tool. and then everything else is kind of that Amazon ads are going to do a bulk of the work. The Amazon algorithm, like for example, you can't do a tool that's going to somehow push your ads like more. The Amazon algorithm at the end of the day is going to make that final decision. Now there are tools that can do some fancy AI things in there that on the bid optimization level, but besides that, like in my opinion, I don't see much after that. And I know that's like crazy in this space. Like you're like Victor, like you're an idiot for saying that, but like I really like think like that is like the Amazon algorithm is going to do 99% of the work there. So that's where like I want to get your perspective on that. Like what do you think? What do you think? I want to get your perspective on that.
Yes. No, I absolutely agree. So I think the bulk of the tool is going to do bid optimization. There's also options to do like budgets. I mean, there's more things you can play with. I don't know if anyone does budget no, there's some platforms out there I think that mess with budgets. But
that
the
would
way
be
they go about it is not
budget reallocation would be awesome if there's a tool out there that does that.
There are some where you can input a specific like spend for a particular like ASIN or listing, and then what it does, it's split out.
Wow.
In practice, it's kind of not all that great. Like for instance, you're like, I want to spend $20. It's like, all right, we're gonna launch these 5 campaigns, and then like everything gets $3, and you're like, wait, like that's not what I want. Anyways, it ends up being kind of clunky. So the funny thing is, I'm always interested in people who have tested a lot of tools, because I've tested a lot of tools, I've talked to a lot of people, and I have mad respect for like what they're doing. However, I like them, but in practice, like I like what I'm doing, I like what I can do, and so I just built my own. So yeah, I am just doing my own thing over here.
Yeah, as most of us are, and it usually doesn't end up being worth the cost. I haven't tested the big tools out there. Now they're like, for example, like the quartiles, the huge ones, and like they're so freaking expensive that like it almost ends up like not being worth it. And now I could be totally wrong. Like you could like come to me and say, Victor, Quartile has this crazy AI tool that does like all these fancy things. And like, yes, like 90% of the people that use the tool will not ever use that fancy feature because of the advanced level it takes to do that. So I think a helpful, valuable thing to the audience, if you are not using bid optimization automatically, that is a huge opportunity. And we're talking about you can use any of these tools that can do that for less than $50 a month, and you can get a really good aspect. Like you have the Intent Wises of the world, the Trellises of the world that help do that, and do that for a very low cost. So that's the minimum of what you should be doing on that side. But you can get fancy on and pay if you want to pay $10,000 for a tool. They can make it happen. Like let's be honest, they can make that happen to spend that much on and take 5% of your ad spend. Where like they can take your money. That they're good at that. But it's really like getting your ROI back is the hard thing for me. And like when it comes to keyword harvesting and things like that, you can do that through a broad match campaign. Like they're gonna do a lot of that work. So yeah, like what is your first of all, what's your thought on? There are automated rules. That is a plus. Automated rules are helpful on certain cases. I think Amazon actually has in-platform automated rules. I haven't used it before. I've always used third-party tools for that.
They do. They're scary. I haven't
Okay.
turned them on. If you have access to the Amazon Partner Network, so we're part of the Amazon Partner Network or whatever.
Yeah,
so they give you access to another platform not available elsewhere. And so I was digging around because I love poking around and came across like a bid automation. It's actually bid automation rule sets in there. Like this looks really cool. So I was like poking with it, but some things with Amazon, sometimes when it seems sort of clunky and sort of beta. It didn't say beta, but it looks kind of beta-ish. And so when I went to, I'm like, it would just continuously turn this rule. And I don't think there was an option. I think you can build rules, but I don't think you can modify rules. And I wasn't 100% sure if I turn it on, how I would turn it off. So I just didn't touch it. But there's some interesting stuff kind of buried in there, which makes me wonder about future what they'll be putting out. But time will tell.
Yeah, and Amazon, like, yeah, when it comes to that, I really just I it makes more sense for me and most of my clients. And so we test it out. We always test the tools because
Mm-hmm.
we always give them the benefit of the doubt of what's going on. But we use our own custom dashboards and feed that data in already. So when it comes to reporting, we already have that figured out. We just need a way to increase
Yeah.
ROI as much as possible, and I haven't had this massive success. And people ask me like all the time, like, "Hey, Victor, is there anyone you recommend?" But I haven't like ever used a tool for a client, and all of a sudden sales went straight up. And I know that's unrealistic. I understand that,
Yes.
and because it like requires like learning, but I haven't seen that a thing that they always say we have this prior what is it
Proprietary, I think is.
proprietary AI solution, and things like that. But like, let's be honest, it will never
Yeah.
like it will never do better than what Amazon can do because they make the final
Yeah.
decision at the end of the
Well,
day.
my theory
Yeah,
on, and I agree with you, that
yeah,
all tools out there are bid optimization tools at the root of them.
yeah,
Some of them have pretty cool campaigns, some of them can automate some stuff.
yeah.
I've gotten feedback on what I have, and I think it's better, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as being able to launch things quickly.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it isn't a bid optimization platform. And the thing with AI is there is no A, because AI works off of data. You have to feed in the data.
Hmm.
The
Yeah,
AI runs its calculations and then it spits out the result. The problem is
yeah.
if you don't have access to the data inputs, you
True.
can't get the same data output. So the reason why
Hmm.
it's so effective for humans to still do it is
Hmm.
we can have a massive more data inputs than you could ever feed to an AI.
Hmm.
So the client tells you like, hey, we're not going to be restocking on this one. We need to pull back on it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so then let's go tell our system. But it's really hard to feed that into the AI other than just
True.
targeting a lower A cost. So there's still some sort of manual adjustment that needs to be made. Or the
Hmm.
client goes, okay, my profit margins just went down because my shipping costs went through the roof. That definitely affects what we're doing, how
Yeah.
much we're going to build out, what we need to re-optimize for. So
Hmm.
I guess my personal preference and kind of why I've built my own, sorry, my earbud's falling off, why I've built my own is um, I find a lot of tools. So in theory, if you have like those scenarios that you need to go through and you need to make adjustments for, you need to go back into your tool and you need to make readjustments for things.
Yeah.
I find it a little bit clunky to go back in and like, okay, so I was doing this here, so I need to micro tweak this here, or I would rather have more inputs than I can adjust than a singular A cost target and just say, okay, so we're just going to decrease, this particular input. So
Hmm.
I've built out our internal systems to have like a lot of different manual inputs that I can go through. Again, depending on the scenarios, depending on the level, depending where it is,
Yeah.
and then like a singular dashboard where I can view everything versus like, okay, so it's this campaign, this campaign, this campaign, this portfolio.
Hmm.
So again, I know it just kind of makes me a control freak, but I like it.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And I think at its core, I think the future of all advertising, whether if that's Amazon, social media, or anything, I think it's going to give us a lot less options, a lot less things to do. Where um, rather than like the algorithm will potentially make all these decisions anyway, which will make these tools less and less um, useful. But at the end of the day, the marketer's job is to do what everyone else isn't doing. So, for example, if advertising does become easier, all of a sudden there's going to be this new thing that they have to test that the automation won't be able to input, and that we're going to have to find a workaround, whether that's through the creatives or whatever it may be. The strategy behind all this is the core of it all, and without the strategy, the tools and the advertising and things aren't as useful, with things like that. Whether, as you know, like the phrase match, the exact matches, the broad matches. If there's no strategy and you just kind of throw something together, you're not going to get the results you want. You have to really strategize it and go in, and that adds a whole other layer of what we're talking about, which is crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I've seen, especially coming off of this Q4, um,
Oh yeah.
is the fact that a lot of tools, because that's what they are, is tools. So if you don't have the right inputs, if you don't have the right like things in place to kind of hedge against, the thing's just going to churn. It's going to do what you tell it to do, which is awesome. You know, the robot's doing our work and, you know, we just tell it what to do. But if you don't like extrapolate what the end result could possibly be, that's where you run into all the issues. So for instance, if you're like, all right, as long as it's hitting this A cost, as long as I have order numbers of this, awesome, like let's go for it.
Yeah.
Q4, you have a broad match and an auto that are doing phenomenal.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that thing gets scaled and you haven't put like a bid cap on it. You haven't put any parameters in place to adjust for that. Well, come Q1, when everyone's conversion rates are down, all of a sudden the keyword that was doing phenomenal in a broad match and has like a $5 bid is not working so well. And
Yeah.
you see like that huge performance swing and you're like, what the heck? I was 20%, 5 days ago. Now
Yeah.
I'm sitting at like a 60. What's going on?
Yeah.
So you're always going to need to have that, like someone over it being like, nope, this is how the system works. This is how the strategy works. Like, I mean, at least if you can put a roadblock or something in place, again, to just like extrapolate, okay, so this is the end result. Even if my thing constantly charges 5 clicks, do this, what does that look like 50 clicks from now?
Yeah.
Being able to make those mental adjustments and then like, all right, I'm gonna put a stop here.
Yeah, exactly. And like during Q4, we saw it go so high. Like some clients, all our
Yes.
CPCs doubled. Um, and like
Yes.
it's crazy to think that like it's scary that when this Q4 comes up, to see like the rising cost of advertising, that it's just going to get more and more expensive. Um, it's scary for us. But
Yes.
probably scary for the brands actually, but it's definitely scary for us too. But that's what it just comes down to, like using different formats and like testing as much as humanly faster as humanly possible, because at the end of the day, the people that change the fastest and that make the moves the fastest in the Amazon space win. It, like for example, if you notice all your sponsored products are like all of a sudden your sponsored products get really expensive, more people are pushing more money in sponsored products, then you have to say, okay, rather than using sponsored products, I need to divert more budget to sponsored brand video, and then that becomes profitable. But then that'll change after a week, then you have to divert it somewhere else, then you have to divert it somewhere else, and really analyze that. And you can see that within a dashboard. You don't have to like export all these reports and things like that. There are automatic ways to pull that information, so that way you can make an actionable dashboard saying, okay, this is how much we put in phrase match, this is how much we put in exact match, this is what we got out of it. We need to do more of that essentially, and really
Mm-hmm.
make that actionable dashboard. And that's really critical, rather than seeing Amazon's crap data that they give you of just like basically whole, and like basically analyzing it, and making that where it's
Yeah.
super actionable for you to make more decisions. And seeing it on the product level has been super valuable for us. We look at it at the product level, saying like, okay, this product on average gets a 15% A cost, but this product on average gets a 30% A cost. And we show that to the client. It says, oh, well, let me send in more inventory for that product. And Victor, just push that one. And that it's actionable. Like we're literally getting actionable
Mm-hmm.
insights off of it. And that's what we want. And so that's been super valuable for us. We build it in Google Data Studio, and we build custom
Nice.
dashboards for the client to make it super actionable for their business. And that's been amazing. Like we literally go on the client call, we say, okay, here's what's happening within the account. We're gonna spend more toward these things, and the clients go, Victor, I love you. And that's literally how that conversation goes. But yeah, I've really been liking it. And I'd be happy to share one of my dashboards with you, Elizabeth, so that way
Yes,
you can,
please.
so that way for your clients, you can see what analytics we're looking at, and that way you can say, okay, within your tool, when the way you report things, that might be valuable to you. Say, oh wow, like because we really
Yeah,
do
for
look at
sure.
it in a different way. We look at it by format, by phrase type. We look at it on the product level, and you might go, wow, and then you might be able to implement in that your tool, your reports. And that might be really valuable for you potentially.
No, for sure. It absolutely. I'm always looking again, telling stories with data and being able to, because to me, it's you definitely can build out any dashboard. Give me any data,
Mhm.
give me anything, we can build it.
Yeah,
But it's how actionable is that? So it's being able to visualize it because that helps you like internalize what's actually going on. But
yeah,
then, all right, so my question is like, all right, now I know this, like now what? So being
yeah.
able to have a dashboard where you're like, okay, so this is what's working. These are our action steps based on that is like, that's where the real magic is for sure.
No, like 100%, and that's where like exactly what you said. Amazon makes it so difficult to get those reports in like in general, but like you could have a million numbers on a dashboard, but like your brain is only going to be able to analyze. Like you're just going to skim through it. Your brain isn't going to
Yeah.
actually do anything. You're going to see a lot of numbers and you go, wow. That's a lot of numbers, and then you're gonna go, okay, next thing, and it's just not gonna be important to you. But if you make it actionable based off the actual business and customize it for that business, they're gonna go, okay, Victor, what is our cost per click this month? And like that's super big for clients. I have a beauty brand. They care about click through rate on a product level. They like that. They say, Victor, what
Mm-hmm.
products are doing well for us, so we can send more inventory for that particular product. And it's we have a different
Are
conversation
you
for each client.
marrying products inventory with performance?
Product inventory performance.
Like product inventory with ad performance?
Unfortunately not. We haven't been able to
It's hard. It's annoying.
yeah, like aggregating that data is unbelievably difficult because it's within different APIs and you have to aggregate that data based off of the inventory API and then like the Amazon ad API and it's like really difficult. I'm working with a tool provider to make that happen. But it's
Nice.
like almost an impossible task, but I'm going to try to do it. But yes, we're doing our best what we can there. There are some tools saying like, "Hey, you're this make sure to send it this amount of inventory because your ads are ramping up." There are some cool tools like
Yeah.
that. The Kpoc they do really cool inventory management off of like, hey, you're gonna miss this amount of sales because you're out of stock, and other things like that. So they do a good job on that side of things. I'm really impressed with the reporting analytics that they are able to extract from there. Um,
Nice.
so I have like a million tools in my brain that I have. I just forget about them most of the time because I test so
There's
many
a lot
tools.
of them out there.
There is.
Yeah. Inventory management, one amazing one our clients or some of our clients have used is called AZ Seller Kit. It's definitely like top of market. So it's not like the cheapest option. It has a repricer in there,
Hmm.
but the inventory management is like insane. We have clothing brands that use it, which I mean, because you can imagine the clothing brands like SKU counts are like it's ridiculous to try and deal with that. And
Yeah.
like they can aggregate it how they want, and it gives them like, oh, this is like inventory levels, or hey, you're spending this much on ads, and your
Yeah.
inventory is this. Like,
Hmm.
it's pretty cool. There's some pretty awesome stuff out there.
Yeah, there are some really cool tools, and that's why I test so many things because of that ability of everything going on there. So that's why I always keep testing. I am religious about testing, like religious about it.
That's
So
awesome.
like if a new thing happens and everything else, and that's why I make these LinkedIn posts saying, "Hey, I tested this new crazy thing. You guys need to do it," or whatever it may be, and that's why my LinkedIn's grown so much is because I'm so religious about testing and people are trying to see, okay, what is the next crazy thing that Victor's doing now? Because it is crazy most likely. So yeah, that's where we've been taking it to a whole new level and just testing as many things as possible. I will say a lot of things that have been working is a sponsored brand video strategy. So it's basically what we do on Facebook. It's standard on Facebook, but no one does it on Amazon advertising. Basically, taking a one
Mhm.
minute video and editing like the start of the clip. So we might cut it in 15 second segments, and then the reason why is because 75% of people will only see the first 3 seconds of your video. So if we're going to change what 3 seconds are at the very beginning. So that way we actually change and see which one is most engaging, and we A/B test the sponsor brand video. And so that's been working really well,
Cool.
constantly testing, and it
How do you
kills
go
it.
about how do you build up the A/B testing? I'd be interested to know that.
We basically see what Amazon pushes the most um on that side of things, and see which one's winning the most. So for example, let's say
So you run them simultaneously then?
yes, we do.
Okay, cool.
That way we just see which one has the highest click-through rate, and usually Amazon will choose one of them, like out of the 4 A/B tests that we run. The Amazon will just decide, hey, I like this one better, and constantly push that particular one. Um, and that's how we go about it. It's usually like dead in the water. It's usually so easy to see. Like one will have like
Mhm.
a like 20% ACOS, and one will have like an 8% ACOS. Like it's usually like you can see it like right away. And it's scaling spend behind sponsor brand videos is really, really hard. Because of like if there's only one placement to like 2 or 3
Yeah.
placements basically. But that's where we just try to push that as much as possible, because they usually end up being the most profitable for us. And which is
Yeah.
actually kind of
Oh, that's super
surprising that
cool.
they
I
don't.
was interested because I reckon like true A/B testing. It's like I've had that discussion with other marketers before. I'm like, how do you do that on Amazon? Because we have clients asking all the time, like, hey, we have these couple videos. You know, some clients are like, I have one video and I don't have anything else, and some videos are like, I have 5 videos. Can you figure out which one is best? And it's a bit, you know, it's trying to figure out like how you build that, because I mean they brought out A/B testing with the listings out, which is like insane.
Yeah.
I'm like, can we have that for sponsor brands? That would be cool. I have no idea. I doubt it's on the roadmap. But
No, I doubt it too, because it's not like Facebook. Facebook, it's really
yeah.
easy to A/B test. You give Facebook 20 creatives, they'll test you. They'll test what creatives push the most, and they'll even optimize budget accordingly to it. It's that cool. But when it comes to sponsor brand video, and things like that, we're really limited. So we have to create basically 4 different campaigns, exact same keywords in there, and then we just test which one gets the most spend, and most profitable there. And it's usually a clear winner based off how much search volume comes through. But we can definitely see, and then that's where we start optimizing. That's the cool part. So we might test a person talking with the product, and that'll be the first 3 seconds. A person using the product all of a sudden. I don't know why I have duct tape on my table, but I'm using this as my example. Like a person actually like using the products and doing that, and then applying it, and we'll test all these different aspects, and we'll see which one ends up being the top performer there, and really go from there, to see which one ends up performing the best. And that's gone a long way.
Oh, that's
It's,
cool.
yeah.
That's really cool. I did an analysis a little while ago on, I mean, of course, my data set's like not huge, so whatever it is. But what I observed is that as far as sponsor brands video goes, the best performers consistently had a very close focus, or at least the video was focused on the actual product. Because there were some videos that was like it looked similar in practice, and so I was like, wait, what's the difference? It seems like the same video. It was like the same product. And what I noticed is that the opening shot was definite display of the product versus some other one. Get those shots. It's like, oh, I'm advertising earrings. Well, like you can kind of see them, but they're not like the focal point
Yeah.
of the shot right here. So that was the one thing I observed. I wasn't really able to pull out much else.
Yeah, and luckily we have like a creative team that basically like makes it a whole other layer. So like I
Yeah.
assume your Amazon advertisers are not video editors. That'd be
No.
awesome if they are,
It
but
would be
most
fun, but no, I have enough stuff on my plate.
what? You're busy? What? I don't believe it. Amazon
A little
ads are
bit, just a
so
little bit.
easy. But yeah, it is a whole other level. And that's the reason why it's so effective, is because a lot of people don't do it, the creative advertising, because it
Mhm.
is like a Facebook advertising method. And it works really, really well. So yeah, it is an interesting thing. That's where I think a lot of the Amazon advertising is going. It's becoming more pay to play now. Like
Yes.
3 years ago, Amazon product sponsored product placements, it was like 20% of page one, and now it's going 50, 60, and it's like a percent. It's like almost like I want to say a percent a day, and it's not that bad, but like it's getting up there.
Almost. Almost.
We'll say like 1/4% a day. Like I just see it itching up, and I'm like, dang, my organic rank is gonna suck.
Yes, and then
But
it gets sold by Amazon's. It's in spot one. You're like, thanks, thanks. Took
yeah,
an ad spot.
yes, exactly. So, is there anything else that you see, either that a lot of people need to be doing but aren't doing, either that or recommendations saying, hey, like I got this client, like I'm getting client accounts that are doing this and they should have been doing this, or any other recommendations that you recommend to help push that? Is there anything else you would recommend there?
So the things I'm finding is with the rising cost per clicks and navigating that.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I've seen be really important is kind of prioritizing keywords and prioritizing things.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we as marketers know that because the top of the page is getting so saturated,
Yeah.
sometimes you will significantly decrease the ads and you'll see a significant drop in sales. That
Yeah.
happens. There are some categories that are way more sensitive than others. So for some of them, you might drop the bid like 10 cents and it's like fine. And then some of them you drop it like 1 cent and you're like, I'm on page 2. What happened?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
but you'll find as you go through it, those keywords they're really important for you to maintain a presence on. And so that's kind of where the cool strategy comes into it, is like, all right, so these are my important ones and these are everything else I'm optimizing for profitability. So being able to view it in layers, I think will be very helpful as you start navigating this like more ever increasing like pay to play platform. Trying to think the other things. Definitely, I don't think people should be skipping out on is if you're not running brand defense, you should be. That is, all the things: sponsor brands, sponsor products, sponsor display, product targeting, and keyword targeting. The other caveat to that is if you're not splitting out your branded from your non-branded, you
Oh
can
yeah.
think you're running at like amazing A costs, and all of a sudden, like when you actually dig into the numbers. So I think it's really important to know, like, just because top line numbers look good doesn't mean
Yeah.
everything's great. I mean, I audited an account that wanted to push, and when I ran it, it was like 90% of their search term conversions were
Oh
unbranded,
my,
and the non-branded was like over
90%?
100%, 90%, and the non-branded was converting at like over 100% ACOS, and the overall account was like at 30. So if you're not like savvy in analyzing that, or if it just
Yeah.
sneaks in there, it can make you look a lot better than you actually are.
Oh yeah.
And like
Yeah.
how you're actually doing is how you're actually doing, not how you think you're doing. So
Yeah, and I
probably
like
important to go
that's why I
check
tell
that.
my clients, like, hey, I can look amazing. Like I can make it where like we're getting 5% ACOS and just go all on branded. But I'm like, no, I want to increase top line sales. I actually want to help the client. So I'm gonna say, like, hey, this is not gonna make my numbers look good, but I want to actually increase and like I want to help you get business. Like actually make your business look good. This is not gonna make my numbers look good, but I want to go after like non-branded. And I always tell that to clients. And so, because I can always make it look amazing, but I want to actually help the client get more sales. So that's why I push that a lot harder on that side of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we had a question in here.
We do. Cool.
Okay. And how enlighten us? Okay. Greetings, Elizabeth. Enlighten us about what you experience in Q1 and what you're planning for Q2. How would you make an analysis, particularly for your clients? What parameters would you need to check and take action over it? So basically asking, is there anything you're planning for Q2? Is there any discussions you're having with clients right now?
Yeah, I mean, always having discussions with clients.
Yeah.
As far as going into from Q1, so The one thing that I think is important to remember is everyone conversion rates drop. Everyone's numbers are going to look like absolute garbage the week after Christmas. Don't freak out.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. You will see in every seller forum and every Facebook group a couple weeks after Christmas, like everyone, are your sales down? My sales are down. Unless you have a really good post-Christmas product, and we do have those. We have products that we're like, December 26th, we're hiking stuff up. Like, let's go time. I mean, there are those like unicorn products, but for the majority of you, you're gonna see a drop.
Yeah.
Breathe. You'll get through it. The second thing you want to see is how badly affected are your conversion rates, and do you have very high bids on things that you shouldn't have high bids on. So I would definitely watch all of the keywords, like I said, autos, broad, phrase to a degree, that have been super scaled on things. So, because you will have like those 1 and 2 keyword phrases that maybe are in a broad match, and doing Q4, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all the sales, let's increase the bid. And then Amazon's still going, hey, this search term's great, this search term's great, and they're pushing you out at $3 a click, and your conversion rate is not what it was in Q4, and that's where you see that particular dip. The dip most of the time happens is because the conversion rate goes down. People got all their stuff at Christmas. They're window shopping. They don't, maybe again, if you have like a new year, new me product, you're going to do awesome Q1. But for the majority of people, January tends to be kind of a slump. And so if you recognize it and you just know like, hey, we're going to kind of navigate through this, again, have that conversation. So the one thing is a lot of people freak out and drop stuff. So if you're fine with getting a little bit less return to maintain those rankings, cool. Again, prioritize things. Like, this is my keyword I'm going after. I'm okay with my ACOS shooting up, but I'm watching my rankings, and I know Q2, Q3, this is my time. I got Mother's Day products, so I'm cool with paying that on the front end. Yeah. Great. If you're not, then maybe you should just start dropping bids and pulling back. I guess that's kind of how I navigate it. Watching conversion rates, prioritizing, and then just trying to move with the market and with what we need to do for the products.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And like that was a great suggestion to kind of go about it and really help navigate the waters there. You obviously know what you're talking about with everything going on the advertising side. It's hard. It's hard what we do because it's a fast moving, so fast moving. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. This is and Elizabeth, tell them how to find you. You're all over LinkedIn. Tell them where to find you.
Yeah, so if you want to just be like, hey, what are you talking about? LinkedIn's probably the best place to follow me. I put out the most content there. So Elizabeth Greene, go look me up, follow. You'll get all of at least as much advertising tips as I can put out. If you're interested in working with us, best place is the website, which is Jungler, JUNGLR.com. I made a boo-boo. If you Google Jungler, it auto-corrects to jungle, so that's the problem. If you go straight to the website, you'll find us.
Branding. Once you become a multi-billion-dollar company, Google will index you for that. It will change it.
There we go. I just got a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't know if I want to deal with that.
You got it. Low expectations, right? Only a billion. One single billion.
Just a little bit.
Oh, that's good. Well, guys, this is the Marketing Perspective Podcast. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for coming on. And I hope everyone has a great day. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hopping on.